capture of New Orleans was a crushing blow to the Confederacy. Even though it wasn't a huge battle, it let the North end up taking the Mississippi River, cutting the South in half. It was actually a pretty brilliant move by the North. A brilliant move by the South. Man, what was I thinking? Many of the Confederate troops in New Orleans went to fight in the Tennessee at Silo, leaving only 3,000 militia to defend the prized territory. The only real defenses the Confederacy had were the two forts, Jackson and St. Philip's. But the South was caught snoozing and let a fleet of 24 gunboats, 19 mortar boats, and 15,000 soldiers sneak past. Now the Confederates had no chance, and General Mansfield Lovell knew that. The Union Admiral Farragut threatened to bombard the city and cause severe damage and loss of Confederate casualties. Using their far superior intellect, the South decided to leave the territory. The Battle of Vicksburg was one of the most important battles in the Civil War. If the Union was able to take the city, they would have been able to take the Mississippi River, splitting the Confederacy in half, and would most likely steal a victory for the Union. Capturing Vicksburg was easy enough, but getting there was the hard part. In early May of 1863, General Ulysses S. Grant marched his army down the west bank of the river and took on a considerable force near Jackson and won that battle. He then went towards Vicksburg and decided to attack Champion Hill. From there, the Confederates retreated back to Vicksburg. In 3 weeks, Grant's army had marched 180 miles and won 5 battles. The Confederates didn't have a chance against Grant's 70,000 troops compared to the mere 29,000 troops that the South had. The Battle of Gettysburg only lasted for a few days, but it sure made an impact on the Civil War. It all started when General Robert E. Lee thought it was a good idea to march his army of Northern Virginia into Pennsylvania. It wasn't actually a bad idea, but the execution definitely wasn't the best. The battle started when an infantry brigade of Confederate soldiers, casually looking for shoes in the grass fields, saw a column of Federal cavalry heading towards Gettysburg. Soon after, the Confederate commander cried to General Henry Heath about the thousands of Union troops heading towards Gettysburg and got a decent amount of troops to defend the town. The next day, General Lee took some L's. The Union Army had already established strong positions from Culp's Hill to Cemetery Ridge. Lee decided to attack anyways, and over the next several hours, the bloodbath began. The Federals were able to hold Little Round Top, but lost the Orchard and Devil's Den. On July 3rd, General Robert E. Lee came up with the great idea of Pickett's charge. Okay, so that didn't work. How about we have a walk out into those open fields with no cover to attack the Union stronghold, shooting at us behind stone walls? Great idea, Lee. Go for it. So, long story short, that plan didn't work, and after all of the failed assault attempts, General Lee got the hell out of Pennsylvania. Union casualties were about 23,000, while the Confederates were about 28,000. And now we have General Lee to thank for the Union victory in the Civil War.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate